How you going, everyone? Here's me face. I want to elaborate on my thoughts around Australian Aboriginal welcome to country ceremonies. If you're an Australian Ozzy Man follower, then please give this video a fair go. It's not a picture meme that takes 5 seconds to digest and either agree or disagree with. It's not a reel or a short that's chopped into 1,000 edits to keep your attention. It's a longer discussion video. If you're an Ozzy Man follower that lives outside of Australia, then you might still find this subject matter interesting and relevant for your own country. April 25th was Anzac Day down under. It's a day of remembrance for the wars our soldiers have fought in, a day of commemoration, and overall it's a sombre and respectful day. This year at the Dawn Services in Melbourne and Perth, there was booing and yelling during the Indigenous welcome to country moments.
And this morning, I'm here to welcome everybody to my father's country. Beautiful Bunurong country. But before we do that, we pay our acknowledgements and we pay our respects. The deep cultural heritage of the Bunurong people of the Kulin Nations, whose elders and community members have generously looked after these lands for countless generations. Our traditional territory spans from the Werribee River in the west and moves to Diggers Rest in the north. These are the traditional lands and territories of the Bunurong people that I welcome everybody to today. And as I said,
of course, the elder Mark Brown dug his heels in and had resolve. He wasn't just going to walk off stage. If you're looking to justify the booing as a reaction to him, that's flimsy. He wasn't rude. He wasn't disrespectful by raising his voice or wearing a hat. This was coordinated by neo-Nazis. Within 10 to 15 seconds of him speaking, they were on him. It doesn't matter who he was, what he said, or what he was wearing. As long as he was a black fella doing this ritual, then he was the target for the day.
Stand up for White Australia.
Shut up.
Stop talking, mate. Stop talking. We're here for a good reason.
Yeah,
the good reason.
Our
son's fighting.
Where's security?
Shut your mouth and show respect.
Amen. Our son's
Well done.
Shut your mouth.
Well
Australia
done.
for the white man. Shut your mouth.
Australia for the white
Shut
man.
your mouth.
Loser.
Australia for the white man.
Oh
Shut
my
the fuck up.
God.
Man, hold your voice,
Do
mate.
you understand how ignorant you are?
Nothing ignorant about it.
Mate,
You
go.
are-
Go, piss off. Everyone's here for the right reason.
The
Go.
country was federated on white.
Oh,
Go,
you
mate.
are the most ridiculous racist.
The Anzacs fought for a white Australia. The
Go
Anzacs were
away.
racist.
My initial response was this: neo-Nazis, fuck off. The website news.com.au directly misquoted me in the article they published, by the way. I tend to think there's a pretty big difference between the phrase fuck off, neo-Nazis, and fuck you. One sounds far more personal than the other. They gave it their own flavour to maximise clicks and engagement. It's a hell of a dodgy misquote the more I do think about it. Fun fact, news.com.au has pushed out over 20 articles on the topic of welcome to countries in the last week on Facebook. It coincides with the political lobbying group Advance sending out this email to their members. Get ready, I'll read it for you. I'll read the first bit. Dear Ozzo, you're an Australian. You work hard, pay your taxes, look out for your neighbours. Then one day, suddenly, you're told this isn't your country anymore. In fact, you're on stolen land. You're a coloniser, and it's time you paid up. This is what the welcome to country ceremony actually means, just because we say that's what it means. And it goes on and on, making a 3-minute Indigenous ceremony sound like the most oppressive thing ever. Pause the screen. Here, look, pause it. I'll pause it for you. Have a read of that. You're being intentionally poked to get emotional and angry about something that's honestly, it shouldn't be that emotional or angry. Like, it's a welcome to country. Once you break it down, it's not a huge thing. And one big thing to say is that if something cultural costs money, it's not the end of the world. I'm sure on Anzac Day, the trumpet player performing the last post is probably paid. The singer that does Advance Australia Fair is probably paid. If an Indigenous elder or Indigenous dancers are paid a fee, it shouldn't matter that much. And when you do go and look at the articles breaking down how much is paid per welcome to country, you're talking about a figure that's $1,000 to $2,000. It's not huge wealth. I like that Senator Briggs poked fun at this almost a decade ago in a comedy show.
Welcome to country's charged by the syllable. You wanted the smoking ceremony? That's extra. You want the gun leaves? That'll cost you per leaf.
As if there's Indigenous millionaires and billionaires flying back to their mansions in the Northern Territory because they've done a couple of welcome to countries. It has to be laughable for Indigenous people.
Come on, you mob. Who out there making hundreds of thousands of dollars of welcome to country? Con, which one of you out there doing that? Who's got the hundreds of $1,000s? Who's making a nice living off welcome to country?
Sports leagues in particular make millions and millions of dollars off of gambling. They can afford a very minor investment and 2 to 3 minutes in culture. I think Indigenous people are doing these ceremonies with a tremendous amount of goodwill. The money does not come first.
Another thing, no black fella standing around the side of a footy ground going, "Here, I'll do a welcome to country if you give me $100.
And you can see the footage of the Melbourne Storm rugby team CEO and leaders cancelling the welcome to country on the night of Anzac Day after the neo-Nazis booed in the morning.
Anzac game at Amy Park for the Melbourne Storm and South Sydney Rabbitohs. All getting ready to do our performance tonight, and I enjoyed doing the welcome and was booked months in advance. And yeah, they've come and told us that they do not want Annie Joy to actually do the welcome tonight here at Amy Park.
The decision by Melbourne Storm to be influenced by neo-Nazis caused genuine personal hurt and pain.
You know, you're just casting this big shadow all over, and I don't know what you do with the NRL, but we have to make a response, because otherwise we're not standing up strong like we should do, and proud of who we are, and so sadly disappointed that we're not out there to pay respect and also to celebrate, you know.
So if you reckon I'm causing division or getting paid to say that aggressiveness towards welcome to country is bullshit, please simmer down. I'm not. News.com.au and many other community groups or anonymous forums or outright mainstream media outlets have got first dibs on being misleading, sensationalist propaganda machines way more than old mate Ozzy Man with his half a dozen videos on serious topics a year. I'm not pushing out 20 posts a day on this. And I don't think it's worth debating if it was neo-Nazis attempting to go mainstream or not on Anzac Day. You can see it through their actions.
And moves to Diggers Rest in the north.
Australia for the white man.
Shut him out.
Australia for the white
Shut
man.
him out. Loser.
It was as bold as blokes with tiki torches yelling blood and soil in America in 2017. But since my initial response, I have discovered that a decent amount of Australians, or what feels like a decent amount of Facebook using Australians, have liked what the neo-Nazis stood for, which is soldiers, Anzacs, veterans past and present, and the broader community of white people don't need to be welcomed to a country they already live in and were born in. The sentiment that people have more of a problem with a welcome to country than a neo-Nazi interrupting the Anzac Day Dawn service is pretty bloody concerning, as Isaac says here. I reckon that's fair. I'm not calling everyone a racist or everyone a neo-Nazi that doesn't support a 3-minute Indigenous ceremonial speech or dance or like it. I understand there's a deep concern and anxiousness of being called a racist when you're not, although it can be hard to tell if that concern or anxiousness is sincere or if it's being used as a collective argument to galvanise like-minded people, stick together and act offended. But the reason you might be called a racist when defending actions of neo-Nazis or extreme white person nationalism is because the ingredients of racism seem present. Ingredients such as ignorance, bigotry, superiority, and a real big one, fear. Suddenly, you're told this isn't your country anymore. By the time you mix a bunch of ingredients together, you've usually got a final dish made up that is called something, like, you know, like a sesame seed bun, lettuce, finely chopped onion, secret sauce that's kind of like Thousand Island mayonnaise, beef patties. It's a Big Mac. Ingredients. The ingredients of your moral infrastructure do play a part in this discussion. So no, broadly, not everyone can be called racist when these things happen and they agree with the fundamentals. But individually, person to person, family to family, it's a good time to reflect on your own internal ingredients. It's a weird analogy, but I'm attempting to approach this discussion peacefully outside of my Facey inbox, which you can pause the screen. Here we go. Bam! I'll put them up on screen and you can read that stuff in your own time. Here, I'll pause it. There you go. I'll just sit here. Yeah, I'll sit here while you have a little look-see at that. It's a bit, yeah, let's move on. It has to be discussed if the welcome to country is simply being used as a scapegoat. It's something to do with Indigenous culture that can be thrown under the bus and bring out people's broader, yes, questionable values towards Indigenous culture. But the truth is never going away. Australian Aboriginals were dispossessed of their land. It doesn't matter if you're a white fella that goes around yelling out, "It's our country," on Anzac Day every year at every event, every dawn service from now on. You won't change anything. It's an inherent truth. Australia was colonised and there was a systematic attempt at genocide towards Australian Aboriginals to breed them out of the population. People have said to me, I voted no for the Voice, Ozzy Man. Ozzy Man, shut up. Ozzy Man, I voted no to the Voice. Yeah, and I did support it. I did, and that was about changing the Constitution to include Indigenous people in policy making more. It was not about voting on whether or not Australian Aboriginals exist. That wasn't the question on the referendum. It wasn't, should Aboriginal people exist, yes or no?
With Anzac Day over, I purposely didn't post yesterday out of respect for the date. So here's my thoughts. We are living in a racist country. We are living in a country that is calling out for leadership, for change, and more importantly for healing. And with all the negativity that's happening across the country, I don't see that happening anytime soon. It is sad, but it is the truth. There is so much racism happening that, in my opinion, and this is my opinion alone, I believe we're living in a racist pandemic at the moment.
The relentless subjugation of First Nations people continues in this country. It will not change, not in the distant future either. As much as we would like to think it will, it won't.
So that has shocked me more than the name calling towards me, and more specifically, to bring it back to Anzacs, multiple cultures have served and fought under the Australian flag and for the Australian flag, like tons. And that includes Australian Aboriginal people in World War I and II and so on and so forth. If the issue is simply that you don't like the wording of being welcomed to country, a country you live in, then what is the solution? Like, can Indigenous people still be allowed 3 to 4 minutes on Anzac Day at a mainstream Anzac event like a dawn service to say something or perform a song alongside Advance Australia Fair or do anything ceremonial? Would that be okay? Or the issue is not the semantics and the wordplay of being welcome to your own country. That's just an easy catchphrase to articulate and again to galvanise like-minded people. The issue is that platforming Indigenous culture at a mainstream Anzac event would still be too much. I, of course, don't think it is, especially considering the broader context of the relationship between white fellas and black fellas and how this country was colonised. And I'm aware of the recording of the veteran sharing his views on the day after the neo-Nazis were yelling out.
It's the welcome to the country. Is it the right time and place today for it? As a veteran, I don't think it is. Now, I have a lot of veteran mates that haven't come today solely because of the welcome to the country. Because our friends have died for this country, for this soil, and for them to be welcomed is a slap in the face.
I don't know, if a 3 or 4 minute welcome to country overshadows everything else the day stands for him and his mates or lots of mates that didn't go, and it overshadows every other ceremonial activity that's given a larger time code on the day, that does just seem sad for the relationship between black fellas and white fellas. I'm aware of this Facebook post that spread like wildfire on Anzac Day from a veteran point of view. I tell you what, when I go to click on it, like when I go through and click on the Facey account, my tinfoil hat goes on a little bit. I have concerns over the account's authenticity as someone that spends a lot of time on the platform. In other words, if it's a proper person posting, the quantity of posts every hour is full on, more than me. Often the same photos are posted within days. There's a lot of very generic Aussie images, more and more AI images than ever. It's a little suspicious. And it was made on Anzac Day 2021. Anyway, and yes, I'm very aware of Indigenous politicians driving a wedge through the welcome to country topic as well. Wedge politics has been around for ages. Ultimately, the RSL, the Returned and Services League of Australia, can decide on the acknowledgement of countries and welcome to countries, and if they want to do them, since they organise a lot of the big Anzac events. And they have put out 2 statements in the last week. Here's statement number 1. I'll pause it, I'll pause it for you, but you got to pause it too. Okay, you're good. And here's number 2. That's worth pausing and reading as well. You pause it now. You pause it. You read it. Finally, it's absolutely worth highlighting the amount of Indigenous people that are explaining what both an acknowledgement of country is and what a welcome to country is. The meaning is important, and it's honestly super far from being hostile.
When we say country, we don't mean the whole of Australia. We are actually welcoming you to one of these. So right here we have a map of the 250 different clan groups or language groups around Australia. Now this would have been estimated to be more pre-colonisation, but for now, these are the registered and approved ones we have.
Welcome is such a great word, right? It means come in, you're welcome. Country is probably where there's a bit of a misunderstanding.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
When we talk about country, we're talking about geographically what's around us, what surrounds us, the intricacies of the boundaries, the storylines behind the different things that are in there. And we're welcoming you to have access to all that knowledge to keep you safe and also to keep the land safe.
As has been said repeatedly, a welcome to country is not a welcome to Australia. It's not about welcoming Australian citizens to their own nation. Country is alive. It gives us our sense of identity, it gives us our sense of culture, our family histories, our relationships to one another, not only as people, but also all living beings. Now, for thousands of years, Indigenous people wanting to pass into other people's countries would have to seek permission. It wasn't just about passport stamp, it was also about people being able to include them not only into a physical space, but orienting them to their responsibilities to, as I said, plants, animals, waters, people.
I'll wrap it up by saying the reason I personally care about this stuff or publicly put it out is super simple. I mean, I call myself Ozzy Man. In 2014, I decided to call myself Ozzy Man on the internet. You can't call yourself Ozzy Man and deny the influence of Indigenous culture on Aussies or just turn a blind eye to it. Our sense of humour is credited as being cheeky, taking the piss, larrikins. That didn't come out of nowhere, or it didn't just come from white people. Those attributes can be seen in Australian Aboriginals. Some of our slang, having a yarn, that we say a lot, which means having a chat, or the word deadly. When something is described as deadly, does that mean it's good or bad?
It's amazing.
Good, well done. Who we are in this day and age didn't all come from white fellas. It's not woke to be truthful about that. That's the most saturated word in the world at the moment. The Australian football, our main national sport, has similarities with the Indigenous game called Mangrook. The AFL didn't come out of thin air in the late 1800s. So many things are bastardised in the broadness of Australian culture. Our accent, it's a bastard. To quote Season 1, Episode 4, the name of that Game of Thrones show, we're cripples, bastards and broken things. We are essentially one big Night's Watch down here. Thankfully, with Sheila's allowed to join the club, and I personally think being a pack of bastards is cool. You don't get to cut Indigenous people out from being big bloody beautiful bastards as well. That's fucked. And you don't call yourself Ozzy Man and by default toe the line when waves of extreme white nationalism seem like they're on the rise. Indigenous culture has a long history and it's going to have a long future, as it absolutely should.
Has anyone heard the chant Aussie, Aussie? Let's do it together. On the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. Aussie, Aussie, Aussie! Aussie, Aussie, Aussie! 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 Aussie, Aussie, Aussie! Have a great night!